Hey everybody, welcome back to Record-ology. Today we're going to be looking at the very first vertical turntable that I have ever reviewed, and I have seen them for some time. I'm fascinated by them, kind of mystified by how it works. Specifically, how does the tone arm stay clamped onto the record, and what does that mean in terms of downforce onto the record? I've just got questions, and I thought we would check it out together. This is the classic Acts EGP VTT 001. Rolls right off the tongue, made in China. Now, isn't Classic Acts the same company that makes like those guitars and saxophones for beginners? I'm not 100% sure, but I am very curious about this device. So yeah, I'm not sure if there's even, retail packaging in here. It says Easygoproducts.com on the side. This is unit number 81 of 500. Let's see what's in the box. I don't even know if this thing, okay, it looks like it does have retail packaging, so I probably could have started with that. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and slide that out and we'll see what the box says. Wall-mounted vertical type, Easygoproducts.com. I'm not sure, that's a speaker, so I'm guessing it's got built-in speakers. It looks like it might have. And I don't know what that is. I'm not sure what that's supposed to symbolize. There's kind of a better picture of it. Yeah, I'm very curious to see what we got here. Let's look on the back. It says it's got 3 speeds, Bluetooth, aux-in, line output. It's got a 12-volt power adapter, speaker output 2 watts times 2 and 5 watts times 1. Dang, so it does have the ceramic cartridge. I was hoping it was magnetic. And there's the back panel. We'll look at that all up close. Next thing we need to do is open this box. So we'll do that next. Okay, now for the second box reveal on this episode. Oh, I love it when the styrofoam's disintegrating like that. It's gonna make a huge mess. It's gonna be statically charged. It's gonna get all over the place. It looks like it busted out right around the shape of this thing. So, all right, let's see what we're in for. Oh my goodness. This is the lowest grade, like, styrofoam in the world. It's just really, really hard to not make a mess with it. This is definitely going to make a mess. Okay. It's not really a good place to grasp. Somehow I managed to get it out. You have an accessory bag here. Some interesting things. We'll look at that in a minute. I think that's it for the box. Finally, no more boxes. And now I'll try to not destroy this foam any more than it already is. Put it right back into the box. And we got a bag here with the unit itself. I mean, it's pretty well assembled, as you can see. This is so weird. Very strange, but intriguing. It's heavy. Heavier than I thought it would be. It's definitely tall. So yeah, there it is. It's big, bigger than I expected. In terms of accessories, so we've got the 12-volt power supply that it mentioned it came with. Curious about this accessory bag. We've got a few things here. So we've got some rubber feet and screws. So I guess depending on how you want to set it up, either wall mount, vertical mount, I guess you could put it down on its back maybe too. You could use those to suit your purpose. We've got a wall mounting kit. So that's cool that it includes that. They give you a screwdriver. We've also got some elbow adapters, both a mini as well as an RCA. So two RCAs, I guess that would make sense. Depending on how you want to configure things. I'll set that off to the side. And then the unit itself. So let's get in closer on this guy. So this is the full-size plastic platters that I remember are on a lot of all-in-one wooden units. So this has the capability to support a full record. However, it's only supporting it with those 3 rubber nubs there. It's not really supporting the whole thing. You couldn't put like a platter mat on this or anything, especially because it's vertical. But so it looks a lot better than those tiny ones, even though it's not really doing anything more in terms of supporting the record. But it is heavier and bigger due to its size. So it does add inertia and whatnot. And it does have these little strobe markings, which I believe are decorative on the side. This unit is hefty. It feels solid. It feels substantial. This is obviously the most intriguing part to me. It really does want to come down, and that's really interesting. I'm curious how this is going to work. I guess the secret is in this counterbalance. It feels substantial. Like, it doesn't feel lightweight, and it does want to come back towards the body of the unit. It does have a queuing lever, amazingly, so you can still queue up the record. Well, the descend is non-existent. It just sort of gives up and the thing pops back down. Okay, that's really, really interesting. While we're down here, so we've got the branding right there, this 3-speed. Oh man, that's rough. So the knob, these are plastic knobs, and when I rotated it, it was already down here at the lowest position. But the knob, I could tell there's probably like a metal stub underneath this, and I could feel the plastic knob like rotating over that. But then if you rotate it up, it snaps cleanly into position. The on and off volume's got good drag. We've got metal speaker grills here, and there are 3 drivers. These are the 2 smaller ones and then the larger one up top. While we're down in this neck of the woods, let me spin it around to see if there's anything to see on the back. There really isn't. There really is nothing back here at all. It's just a flat panel with Phillips screws. There's this little hook here, probably for the wall mounting kit. And then if you wanted to put the rubber feet on and have it lay on its back, you could. We do have a little passive reflex right there. So that's just a plastic disc with a rubber surround. See, there's one on this side. Yep, there is. So this one, it does take into consideration sound quality. It's not like we just have speakers as an afterthought, because we've got this up here. The wattage is decent. We got the 2 down there. There's no way you're going to have stereo imaging on this thing that I can see. It's going to just sort of fill the room with both channels. Curious about this as well. So this stabilizing device, spring-loaded in the middle, felt lined on this side. And is it magnetic? It is. So it magnetizes right to the device. Okay. Oh, we do have a little tone arm clip down here. I didn't see that before. So we can put the tone arm in the rest, clip it in for safety. This does feel, this feels a little loose. Watch how when I move the tone arm, the metal part moves, but the bass doesn't really move. So it's almost like it's loose right here. That's a little frightening there. All right, let's look. It's belt driven, I can tell you that right now, but I'm curious. I want to pop this clip off here and remove the platter because I am interested what makes it go. All right. Did I lose it like I usually do? Yes, I've already lost it. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and remove this. Hopefully it's not too difficult to get back on. Interesting. Okay, so yeah, it's this typical ABS plastic, cheap plastic platter with a sub platter. Gets the job done. I mean, I'm not hating on it by any means. And we've got the non-movable center spindle. It is greased down there. This does have the brass lining on the hole, so that's good. So it's metal on metal contact. It's not wearing away plastic. The construction of this is interesting. It looks like plywood of some sort that's been spray painted. This is obviously the motor, probably a JYK type with the brass pulley there. Interesting sort of plastic panel right there. This would be a very interesting candidate for a teardown video in the future. Not going to do it today, but I am curious what's inside. Also, didn't it say something about a line in, line output? I don't see anything. So maybe it's on the bottom as it's resting right now. Okay, sure enough, and here on the bottom panel, this is where the connections are. So that's why you've got those elbow adapters in case you want it standing up vertically. Line output, these are recessed, which I have mixed feelings about that. I'm sure they did it to save space instead of having them protrude. We do have the aux input, the power supply, all that goes on down here. And 2 ports for the bass reflex. Again, as that bass is built up within the cabinet of this device, it comes out as reflex radiators that we saw on the sides or through these openings down here. I'm getting very curious as to what this sounds like. And here are a couple of pre-drilled holes that we can put those rubber feet on. So I'm going to go ahead and do that next. The feet have been put on. They were a good rubber material there, so that was good. I can tell this thing is definitely not designed to be played on its back. If you look at it from the side, you'll see it's tapered, so it's not even flat when it is on its back. I do want to measure a few things like I always do. One of the first things I want to measure is the tracking force. And what I want to do is compare it when it's in this position versus vertical. I'm curious if when it's vertical, if it has the same tracking force as when it's laying like this. So I'm going to take, and it wobbles a little bit when it's on its back because it's not, those are the screw heads that it's pivoting on. It's really not designed to lay on its back like that. So let's go ahead. I am going to put this into a better position so we can see it together. I'm also going to prop up the unit so it's closer to being flat. And so it's almost 5 grams. I'm going to make sure that lift shelf is out of the way. Interesting. I thought it would be considerably heavier than that. So we are coming in at 4.63 grams, but that is appropriate tracking force. Let's go ahead and flip it vertical and try to test the tracking force in the vertical position as well. So powering up the unit, I'm going to have to hold it in my hand. Never done this before, so it's probably not going to be as precise. I can't imagine it would be over the other amount. 4.8. Yeah, so it's similar. It's actually a little heavier in this position, but still under 5 grams. So I'm satisfied that that is a good value. It all has to do with this down here, this counterweight. Let's check out, yeah, that gimbal is a little loosish. Plastic. There's some sort of metal weight behind this plastic shell down here. The most concerning thing with the tone arm is just how there's a little movement right there. Now there is a little screw right back there that if I had the right leverage would probably tighten this up. But as you can see, it's just a hair loose. Probably won't amount to much in terms of a sound issue, but it's something to consider. This clip is pretty lightweight too, very gentle. So let's go ahead. Is that dust? Packing dust? No, it's just the plastic has sort of speckled look to it. Let's check the speed consistency. One thing that is interesting because of the design being tapered, it's not completely vertical. It is tilted back a tiny, tiny bit. So that is going to help things in terms of the record not popping off. However, if this wasn't secured properly, I would be terrified of this thing tipping over with a record. Could you imagine? That would be rough. Okay, this is a strobe warning for people that are sensitive to strobes. I'm going to lift the tone arm so the needle doesn't drag on the strobe disc. And I raise this up. Watch what happens. It snaps into the nearly the start position. That may in fact be the start position. It's not quite enough to get over the edge of this strobe disc, but it looks like it's going into what it thinks is the starting position for a real record. That being said, we've got it spinning at the appropriate speed. Let's go ahead and take a look and see how accurate it is. You guys are getting to be pros at this. So we're going to be looking right here, which is 33 RPM, and you can see that is very fast. That's significantly fast. Should not be that fast. I'm going to go to 45 next, which is right here. Also very fast. We're fast across the board, and I'm not surprised if 78 at the top is also fast. Wow, that looks frightening. That looks very, very fast. I will say this, the motor is relatively quiet. Usually these things scream on 78 RPM, but this one is running pretty dang quiet. It's cool. It's very cool. And you got to think of a novelty. This isn't like, well, I really want, the best out of records, so I'm going for this unit. You know what I mean? This is a novelty unit. The second you've got a ceramic on there, your sound quality is going to be limited, even with all these bass ports and speakers and things. It's going to be limited to a degree. It can sound good, but it's not going to be like moving magnet cartridge kind of good, if you know what I mean. Having this overhang on the edge affords us a great opportunity to look up close at this cartridge. It is, in fact, a Chuo Denshi clone, and that means it's a ceramic. And like I said, the sound quality tends to be limited with these, but if the impedance is properly matched by the manufacturer, they can sound good. Not great, not super hi-fi, but they can sound good. and we can get bass out of it. It can, you know, have good highs. It's not terrible sounding if it's implemented properly. Time will tell. Looking at the stylus housing, what's inside the red piece right there, we do see it has a metal cantilever. That is good. It's got a rubber boot, which is also good, and a bridge. All of those would tend to indicate that this is a higher end variant of what is nearly the world's cheapest phono cartridge. So yeah, is what it is. And we've done everything except listen to this turntable, and that is what's happening next. So here's how this is going to work. I am going to switch from my lavalier to the front-facing stereo mics. We are going to listen ambiently in the room. It is quiet in here tonight. There's the usual echo, but this is a real-world sound test. Whenever a record player has built-in speakers, and that's how I define a record player versus a turntable, I want to listen to it the way it was designed. So we're not going to do a direct feed. We're going to listen to the speakers. We're going to take in the whole experience. For music tonight, you've seen it off to the right-hand side. This is an issue of Vinyl Moon. So this is the monthly subscription service, sort of mixtape on vinyl, and this gorgeous frosted splatter vinyl record. Looks really, really good. One good thing about vertical turntables is it's a great way to show off picture disc, colorful vinyl, things of that nature. One thing before we switch to those mics and give it a listen is I want to see how close this thing does pop into the right position. So yeah, it's not quite close enough. I thought it was designed to literally go over the beginning of the record, but it does not. Interesting, you can position it anywhere you want, and it doesn't slide back down this way. The lift shelf is rubberized, and it's also that weight seems to be designed to keep it either here or any position along the way. So I'm going to drop it just at a few different places, but first let me switch to those front-facing mics, and then I'll close with my final thoughts. It also occurred to me that we were still at 78, so now we're spinning at 33 RPM. Here we go. Sounds ridiculous because it is supposed to be slower than that, so it's hard to even give it a listen when it's so fast. That's 45, and that's 78. Sound is pretty harsh. Surprisingly, to me, I was actually kind of expecting it to be a little bit more rich. It's hard to get a good listen when it's so darn fast. Yeah, very, very bright. Very, very bright. And we'll try the last song on here as well. Yeah, there's like no bass. It looks super cool. In fact, if you had the Gemini and this together and your design aesthetic was like black and white, that would be fantastic. However, a record player should play records. It should sound good, right? I mean, is that asking too much? It's a cool record spinner, but it's not a cool record player. Do you guys use vertical turntables? Have you found a good one? Do you have a recommendation? Let me know down in the comments below, or even one that you just are interested in, would like us to review. Let us know that as well. As for the classic Axe vertical turntable, it's going to be a pass, a pretty hard pass, unfortunately. It does look beautiful, but it just doesn't play records very well. So it's the next day, and I had this terrible thought that maybe when I put the belt back on, that perhaps it was twisted over on itself, and that's why it was so fast. So I came and I took another look, and it was not doubled over. However, the belt was not riding properly on the motor shaft. It was riding up on the rim. So you can see how now the belt is centered on the middle of that pulley. Before, it was right around the rim on the left there, so it wasn't the accurate dimension for the proper speed. So there's 33 on the bottom there. Still a little fast, not too bad. Going up to 45. That one's still pretty fast. And then 78. See, it's all fast. It's just not quite as bad as I initially thought. So let's go ahead and test it out. Maybe the sound will be improved.
Take a pill in the morning. I take a pill every night. I take a pill when I'm sad. I take it when I'm alright.
And it does sound better being at the correct speed, but it still is pretty darn tinny. Yeah, it's definitely tinny. It sounds better being at the correct speed. One more. So my modified opinion is that the sound is better than it was when the speed was so fast, but it's not great. So it's still pretty harsh, pretty tinny. And for some reason, there's no sound or very little sound coming out of the top speaker there. The majority of what we hear is coming out of those bottom speakers, and they still sound a bit shrill. However, it's good to know that the speed is much more in range than I thought it was. So apologies there for that, was my mistake. However, still an interesting look at a very unique turntable. And that's going to do it for today. Happy record hunting. We'll see you next time.